Hey everyone, this is Jeff. Welcome to Planet Zoo. With Reus wrapped up, I really wanted to keep doing like animal and plant stuff. I enjoyed making nice things in Reus, and I figured it's time to play a game where we just make nice things as the point of the game. If you are clicking on this video for the first time, a couple notes. This is going to be a slow build series. It is not going to be a speed build series. It is going to be a series that is done fully in franchise mode, so we're going to have to deal with economies, we're going to have to deal with animal needs, we're going to have to deal with all of the mechanics of the game, good and bad. And I think I'm going to break these episodes up into themes. So the idea of this series overall is I want to make some themed zoos. We started up a new franchise for ourselves, clear slate of research, basically starting from scratch. And I'm going to make themed areas in individual continents, starting with a desert zoo in Africa. With Empirical Parks being the name of the franchise, we're going to name all of our zoos Empirical something. So in this case, I think we'll go for Empirical Sahara. And we'll play on the sculpted terrain types because it's interesting to have to contest with terrain, with hills, valleys, cliffs, etc. So the way that we're going to start this is I'm going to draft out a really rough sketch of how I want this zoo to look. We're going to have a couple different themes here. We're going to have like desert Sahara theme. That's going to be around the Sahara and the Sahel regions of Northern Africa. We're going to do a region around the Horn of Africa, as I just changed that animal aging setting quick. We're going to do a region themed around like the Horn of Africa, the eastern edge of Africa, like Somalia area. We're going to do the Namibian desert and the Kalahari. We're going to do some like savanna transition zones, and then we're going to do a bit of like coastal desert cliffs to fit in where something like the African penguin is going to go. And in order to come up with that list, I just went desert, Africa, and took basically everything that's not a domesticable animal. Like, I don't think I'm going to build a petting zoo for alpine goats or American donkeys or like wild boars or red foxes or anything like that if this is going to be a desert in Africa. So, to start things off, because we are playing with economy, we are going to have to make money at one point or another. I'm just going to sketch out a very rough map of how I want things to look. So we know that we're going to have these 5 major sections. I'm going to start with the Saharan sands, and for that we're going to have Addax, Dromedary Camel, Fennec Fox, Sand Cat, Oryx, and then maybe a walkthrough for Egyptian fruit bat and the scarab beetle. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3 major enclosures that are mostly like barn enclosures, where we're just going to have simple fencing. Fennec Fox and Sandcat are going to require an interior housing of some sort because they're a little crepuscular, I think is the term, or maybe fully nocturnal. I don't remember. But they don't like being outside all the time, and they're also relatively shy, so we want to keep them away from guests. And we'll have a room for a couple, smaller exhibits around for Egyptian fruit bat and scarab beetle. So I'm just going to start by sketching out just a really basic path. And I think over here, we'll get it to hug that sand dune. We'll have it run along the back here. Have it run out this way. And then over here, we can have it branch off like this. We'll kind of round these corners off, so we kind of have a plaza coming in. I think for like this desert structure here, this little like sand dune, I would like to encircle it with a path, and we can kind of theme this thing up a bit. And then here, I would like to save room for like a food court or an eatery or something like that. So we'll have these paths join in like this. Maybe a view kind of swing around like that too. We can do a little bit of like theming area there. We can have some kind of exhibit here. And then this path again, we can have a little bit of theming area here. This would probably be like a nice place for the penguins because they can't really go anywhere else because they're a bit of an outlier. And then this path through here will probably also connect as well. So this is going to be one of our major zones, and I think we'll go ahead and say that this is going to be the Saharan Sands. We're going to need room for keeper facilities in the middle, so I'm just going to square off where those are going to be roughly. Maybe something like that, and then maybe something like this as well for like some research, power considerations, things like that. We will also say that is path. We should maybe say that's like soil, because then I'll remember what's supposed to be guest path versus what's supposed to be keeper path. And then this will swing around here, this will swing around here, this can connect in right here. And that kind of demarcates where we want some of these areas to be. As far as where animals are going to go, we'll rough that out with some smooth rock. Maybe have a divider like right here. And then this comes around like this. And then we'll also do something over here. And we'll just rough that off. So I'm thinking this is probably going to be Scimitar-Horned Oryx. This can be Addax. Over here, we could probably do Dromedary Camel. Let's hash that off. And then over on this side, we can extend this building out a bit so that it also looks like it contains some of the interiors for Fennec Fox and Sandcat. And then this can spin off like this. It's looking actually a little small now that I look at it. You might need to go up to like here actually. And then let's just make sure that that's delineated a bit so that we remember. And then over here, we can think about putting Fennec Fox in. And then here, I don't know. We can save that for something else. It's good to leave yourself a little bit of space if you decide that you need more. So before, well, and also like we'll need food courts as well, I suppose. So let's plug those in. We'll do one nice food court here at the entrance. This is also going to be where we can put like souvenir shop. We can put zoo information. We could extend it along here as well. We can kind of theme that area up a little bit. We'll have a food area back here because we're also probably going to need power generation back here. And then this obviously will be a food court as well. We don't want our guests to feel like they have to walk too far in order to get food. So that's looking decent. We can have something come off like here. I'm not going to sketch these out now. I just want to leave myself a couple little markers for where we might want to extend things in the future. We have a fun and interesting shape there. And then this can extend all the way back to like here. And this is where we can put some of the other regions. Like, you know, this could be Namibia or Horn Highlands. This could be Namibia or Horn Highlands. And then we can cram trail savanna area maybe over here because we've kind of got a little... We have a visual disruption to the rest of the zoo. But that's pretty much it. We're not going to make a giant zoo. We're just going to make a zoo that has, you know, maybe 30 or 40 animals in it across 15 species. We'll theme it up a bit, we'll make it look nice, and then we'll go and make another zoo. So, we are going to need to make some money. Let's start figuring out where these basic exhibits are going to go. So this is going to be our Dromedary Camel, and we're just going to use some really rough guidelines. This doesn't need to be exact size, it just needs to give me an idea of how much space we're working with. Something like that. Dirt path to demarcate where our staff paths are going to go. And then give me just a little gate so that I can check size. Currently sitting at 1612. So, how many dromedary camels are we going to want? Are we going to want to, well, we can get a little extra space out of this actually. Like this can kind of move forwards a little bit. This can come way out. We can start playing around with some more irregular shapes. So those always tend to make things a little more interesting. And then we can maybe pull this one out a little bit too. We can pull this one out a little bit. Build you out a little bit. We could also think about where we want to put viewing galleries in here. Like we could maybe have something that cuts across here, gives them a nice panoramic view. But the point of this exercise is we want to give ourselves extra space. So we're currently at 1804. And if we take a look at the Dromedary Camel, we say natural habitat, they want a group of up to 13, 1 male, 12 females. We'll probably do like 4 females and then 1 male. And we want to leave a little bit of space for juveniles. Their offspring per mating event are only 1, so I don't think we're ever going to have more than like 2 or so. We need 1100 cubic meters. And in here currently we have 1804. I don't think that's enough. Based on just my experiences playing Planet Zoo, you generally want around 1.5 to 2 times as much habitat space as is necessary for the number of animals that you want to keep. Because as you put in rocks, as you put in plants, as you put in shelters, as you put in all of the other stuff that you need in order to keep a exhibit running, you eat into that budget of space. So I know that I'm going to want to do a lot of rock work along the front. I kind of want this to slope down a little bit, so it kind of has that, you know, hidden fence barrier going on in front. Along here, I might want to do the same thing, and they're going to need a stable somewhere here in the back, and that's also going to take up space. I want to aim for like 18 to 1900 on this thing, and now we're at 2044. I think that will be much better, and it'll allow us to build some of this out without having to worry so much about space. So we'll make a quick adjustment here to where this path is actually going to go. This is actually going to run back like this. And then we will remind ourselves what this is for. This is going to be dromedary camels. Camels. Good. And then we'll do the same thing for everything else that we want to be in this section of the zoo. Let's go over here. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. I don't want you to come quite that far back. And in fact, this whole habitat is already a little deep. I may pull that back wall out a little bit, just to give guests a better viewing perspective. Connect in here. Put in a gate here, I suppose, is probably how they'd access that. This, let's say, is going to be Addax. I'll go ahead and name it now. Hopefully Addaxes is the plural of Addax. These want to be in a group of up to 25. I also don't think that is going to happen. So let's say we'll do, again, maybe 5 males, 1 female here. 5 male, 1 female, or 5 females, 1 male. Their offspring per mating event is 1 to 2. So we're going for 4 juveniles. They only need 640. So if we're going to double that, we're aiming for like 1100 or so. This is going to be much larger than 1100. Yeah, this is like 2276. So where we want to get that space back is along here. We want to pull this part of the exhibit closer in so that guests have an easier time viewing them. And we could leave a lot of this open in the back. And we can mask it by having that be like a backstage area for them. We can put like their barn and stuff like that back there. So what does that cut us down to? 1984, we can go smaller. Or we could add more animals. That's the other thing we could do. Maybe we aim for like 1500 in that case. And we leave ourselves a little bit of space to maybe include more animals. Can go to a herd size of like 8 or 9 possibly. And just round that corner off a little bit. That's a fun shape. 1692. I think I like that a lot. We'll leave it at 1692. Let's fill this back in so we remember how this is going to work. That's all going to be exhibit. Not entirely sure what I want to do with this area. Let's do the Scimitar-Horned Oryx, and then maybe we can figure that out. Maybe we have like a small viewing platform like here, and then a viewing platform here, and then maybe a little bit of small rest stop over here, like one water vendor, one food vendor. We have a really easy shortcut into the backstage area if we need to. That's the kind of thing that we could make work over there. So this is going to be Scimitar-Horned Oryx. Part of the reason I also really like this rough sketching approach is I'm the kind of person who has trouble looking at a blank canvas and figuring out what kind of design you're going to pull from it. So doing this really rough job first and really not caring about angles and not caring exactly about placement and just kind of getting an initial shape down is the kind of thing that forces me to then commit to that and incorporate that into the eventual design. It helps me get around some of that initial decision paralysis of starting out a new zoo or a new city and city skylines or whatever other game you happen to be playing. So this is going to be Scimitar-Horned Oryxes. You know what? I'm not even going to make them plural. We'll just keep them as single. Addax, Dromedary Camel. Dromedary Camel. And then for my Scimitar-Horned Oryx, how many of these can I have? 3 to 40. Alright, so we can have a lot. I think we're going to have a lot of space in that spot, so let's go to 12 and plan for 5 juveniles. That puts us at 810, so we want to be around 1,600 cubic meters. Currently at 19, so I can get space in over here for maybe another small guest viewing platform. Kind of round that corner off a bit. And then you can see this exhibit from all corners. They're confident around guests, right? Shy? Okay, maybe not. That could potentially be a problem. Well, one of the things that we could do is... I'm going to commit to this idea, because I think it's a neat one. So we'll just get this in. We can have a nice little plaza in here, and that'll be kind of fun. But one of the things that this could be is this could be their barn right here. We have a staff access path here, and then we can have one-way glass. So it's a way for them to see into some of the staging area for where the animals can sleep without the animals necessarily feeling like their privacy is being violated. And then this will be the animals area to kind of get away from the prying eyes of guests. So, Fennec Fox and Sandcat to go, and this is already starting to freak me out a little bit. Because I would really like to build a square building, if at all possible. Which makes me feel like I would like to... Because I also want guests to be able to see into it. Maybe we do the same thing that we did with the hoofed animals. And we have a little path that comes out like this. And then this is the house for the Sandcat. Can I make you a different kind of rock? Yes. Yes. Alright, so this is going to be my demarcator for shelter. We'll have a shelter there. Here. I guess we can do the shelter. I'm not in love with that, but it's fine. Are Addaxes shy? Yes, Addaxes are also shy. Alright, so this is going to be our little area for guests to come look at how things are in the back. And then for the Dromedary Camels, we'll have some kind of shelter building back here. Good. Give me barrier. with null barrier. You can come around like this. That wall can be shared with some of the keeper facilities. And then this is going to duck back here. Cut across like that. There's a nice little bit of gate access right there. This will be Sandcat. Sandcat 100% is going to be shy. So they will need a space to hide. Yeah, absolutely shy. Group size is 1. Offspring is 2 to 4. I do think we're just going to do 1, but let's plan for room for 3 juveniles. That's 300. I want this one to be closer to 800 probably, because I know that pathing inside this building is basically going to cancel a lot of that area out. We are currently at 1300. It does not need to be that big. Okay. Get rid of the gate and pull all of this back then. We'll go like this. We can get rid of all of these barriers. And we can just have this cut across here. So, Sandcat House. This will be their little outside area to roam around in. Guests can see them very easily from here. Very exciting for everybody involved. And then this back here can just be more staging. So we have room for a lot of zoo support facilities back here, which is good. What's that cut you down to? 916? Much better. Sandcat. And then over here on the other side, I actually can do something very similar. This is going to be Fennec Foxes. We'll give the Fennec Foxes a house. We don't need this connection anymore because we already have a connection here. And we can actually slide it over so it goes like this. Still don't know what I'm going to do with that space, but something to figure out later. Null barrier. So I don't want this area to get too clogged by having too many guests trying to flow in and look at 2 animals at once. I would like to try and keep them a little separate. So what we may do in that spot is actually use concrete wall so the guests can't see through like this wall, and then that will keep them focused on only looking around over here. We'll pull this out a bit. So how are we looking for space? There. We're going to have a big visual divider here to kind of block off a lot of that section. And then this is going to be how keepers get in. So we'll go small metal gate. 1344. Fennec Fox. Shy. 1 to 10. Okay, you can have more Fennec Foxes than I thought. Up to 6 males, up to 6 females. Alpha male and alpha female. So we probably want to have, let's say 6 adult Fennec Foxes, and then offspring per mating event is 2 to 5. But if there's an alpha male and alpha female, I think those are the only 2 that can mate. So let's say we're going to do 6 and 3. Puts you at 364, but again, because a lot of these are going to have indoor spaces, you probably want to aim for about 1,000, and you're currently at 1,300. So instead of worrying about this being a concrete barrier, why don't you actually just pull that whole section back? And what you could put there instead is like a toilet block or something. I actually really don't like how that works. I would like all of that to be inside, I think. Maybe pull this out. We could do like a big mountain here in the middle, like a big pile of rocks. And then that's just going to be a hidden wall. So how about for theming areas, we say that's coarse sand. And we'll do coarse sand back through here, because that's just going to help isolate these things visually. This is going to be theming. This is probably going to be theming, and then we'll save this space back here if we need to do anything else with it. That would be more potential like zoo services. These edges we can tighten up a little bit so that they're closer to the path. And then we'll do theming here and around here. We'll do theming around here. This is all going to be theming. This is going to be theming. And then everything around this rock is going to be theming. This also probably theming. This also probably theming. Maybe a little bit of theming there too. So the idea for... I really love how this is starting to take shape, for what it's worth. Like, using the terrain brush in this way, A, is free if you're playing on franchise mode and you have to worry about budgetary concerns. But B, it really helps you visualize like where things are going to live and what kind of space allotments you're going to have for that. So the list of animals I have here that we need to include: Addax, Dromedary Camel, Fennec Fox, Sandcat, Scimitar-Horned Oryx, good. Egyptian fruit bat and scarab beetle are the other two. I will tell you that I have never actually made a flying animal walkthrough exhibit before. So I'm probably going to do a little bit of practice for that one before I commit to doing it here. But this seems like the kind of place to put a sacred scarab beetle. It's just a little exhibit animal. I wonder if there's any way we could get some exhibit animals in here too. Also, I would really love to have a path shortcut there for staff. This just has really good connectivity right now. Should actually try and... Well, you know what? I don't have great staff path connectivity there, so I'm going to leave it. Instead, we can put a... scarab beetle like right there. So that'll be a nice, easy way for it to get access, because I think they can actually touch it from the back of the path. And that's how things are going to look. So, a couple of things we have to do now, since we need to start making money. Let's get our initial pathing in. We're going to do angle snap off, keep it to length 1, take me down to 7 width. No, take me to like 8 width. Let's go a little fatter. And we're just going to walk this path around where we've painted. Come around this dune here. Put a little bit of a zigzag in it. And then come around through here. Not quite. And again, sticking to really rough shapes here, just because otherwise I'm going to try and be a perfectionist about it, and I'd rather work with the imperfections in the pathing system than spend 20-30 minutes trying to get it to go exactly correct. You're going to swing around here. I don't want you to connect yet, because I want you to connect in like this. And then I want to round this off. So we're going to put down a path, delete it. Put down a path, delete it, put down a path, delete it, and it's going to give us a nice rounded corner on that. We'll do the same thing here to round that off. And that's a nice, smooth plaza transition into these two distinct areas in the zoo. Let's grab our staff path now. We'll take this down to 6. They don't need to be as big. And then we're going to walk that right down here. We will connect up to these specific exhibits later, holding down Control so it doesn't try to auto-snap. Come down around here, get rid of these stubs. You're going to connect in right there. Then we will go down to 4 meters, and we'll connect these in. We'll keep this one at 4. You hook up right there. Take me back up to 6 to connect here. Yeah. We're going to deviate from the plan a little bit. Because I'm just looking at where that Dromedary Camel access is. And it doesn't necessarily need to be there. Oh, you're going to fight me on this one. Alright, back up. How about one of these? You still want to fight over it? Yeah, you're still going to want to fight over it. There we go. And then remove that. That works fine. And then this will come in like this. That's a beautiful connection. Round that off. And then this connection we can just make like this. We'll come out 1. And then we'll go up to 6. Connecting like that. So that, with the exception of you, is our staff path connectivity. Looks fairly good. The only thing that's a little annoying is if we're going to have like an animal talk here, there's a bit of a walk to get there, but they can come out like this and then around, and that's not horrible. We'll live. Let's also put in where our plazas are going to go. I think I want these to look a little special. So the best way that I know of to do a good plaza is to start on the grid. So we're going to put one piece of path down. We're going to align it to grid. We're going to fill in as much of this grid as we can, using the smallest piece of path that we have available. Probably want it to turn here. You're not obstructed. Just keep it up. See how much we can fit in here. You know, that's probably pretty good. And then we deselect the grid. We go as wide as we can. And then we have it connect up to the main path. So we'll do one connection here. Take me down to 8 to do that connection. You can connect in here, and then take me down to 4. And we'll try and round some of these corners off. And that's a weird shape. I don't mind that. We're going to have a lot of theming in there. It's going to be a little bit of seating room, and then we'll have restaurants along the back. We'll have a bunch of tables in there. Let's just demarcate that we're going to want to theme that up. And that's not a bad little plaza, all things considered. I actually think maybe I'd like to make it a little more irregular in the back. I do want to save a couple flat areas, just because it's easier to place buildings along a flat area. Maybe go like that, because then we can have a little restroom come off the back there. But that is a fun, irregular plaza shape that should be interesting to decorate. And then we will do the same thing over here, which is going to be substantially harder, because we wanted to build this one on a diagonal for whatever reason. Come in here, place your initial piece of path down, align to grid. Just start plopping some path down. You're going to do a little bit of a shape like that. We can round all of those corners off. We're not particularly worried about it. I don't know that I want it to connect here, so I'm just giving myself a little bit of space. So you're going to look something like that. You're going to connect in here. You're going to connect in like this. Oh, yeah. That's real weird. And then we're going to round off the back. And honestly, if we can get the back kind of straight on this one, yeah, like almost exactly like that. That might actually be where we put the shops on this one. Oh, I really like that. I love how that's come out. Round you off a bit. Round... Oh, let's maybe not round that aggressively. You're going to be really messy. Okay, it wasn't actually that bad. Huge. This is fun. I like that little rounded corner there. And then we're going to do theming through here, theming through here, a little bit of theming back here. So that takes care of our two main plazas. I'm not going to touch this plaza. Oh, we wanted to do this one too. Don't immediately know what I'm going to put in this one, but we can figure that out later. This one should be really easy. It's virtually square. And then that'll be how people get in. Bump that up to 10. Just let me hook in anywhere off of that, please. Don't love it. Love it more. Still don't know what I want this one to be, but I guess maybe this is the one that can connect there, to that portion of the path. I think one of those is going to be food, and then one of them is going to be like gift shop. We could actually do a fairly large gift shop off like this way, if we decide that's something that we want to build. A lot of this we don't currently have plans for. So for now, I think those plaza structures are fine. We can now start to think about getting in the basic facilities that we need to actually run a zoo. First thing we're going to need to do is upgrade these barriers. Eventually, I would like to get to a point where almost every barrier in the zoo is a null barrier and is decorated, but we are not going to have the cash flow to do that initially. So instead, for the opening of the zoo, we're just going to use simple chain link, or in the case of needing something that can't be climbed, like for the sandcat, the Fennec Fox, if they can climb, we'll use another suitable enclosure. And then as we farm up a bit more money, actually check and see what their climbability is, sandcat. What do you need for fence, my friend? Grade 2 over 5 feet. I believe that means a 2-meter chain link will work. 2 meters is like 6 feet. And then Fennec Foxes. That was Fennec Foxes. Sandcat. Grade 2 climb proof over 10. Okay, so that fence was wrong. This is our Fennec Fox. Fennec Foxes can't climb. So you can be simple chain link. And then our Sandcats can climb. So we're going to go corrugated here. Corrugated is not climbable. And then what is 10 feet in meters? It should be like 3.5 meters or something like that. 3 meters exactly. So this fence needs to come up to 3 meters. Maybe a little more. Let's say 3.5. Give yourself a little bit of flexibility. And then really, truly dead simple. Window here. Window here. So it's one of the ugliest starter zoos you will ever see, but that's okay because its only function right now is going to be to make money. We'll have that little viewing area here. I'd actually like to make that path a little shorter if you would allow me. And then I think... I used to remember how to do this, but there's a way to artificially shorten the length of that path. I think it involves going like that, maybe, and then you can cut this part off. Yeah, there you go. So that's pretty much perfect. And then if we go align to grid off of this 10-meter path piece, we say we want it to be square, and then we destruct it. We have a square into a path. Sandcat done. Here again, I think I want a plaza. So we'll do that with Craze Mosaic. We might decide to put some fun things in here later, things for guests to purchase or possibly just use. And then leading out of that, we will go with our traditional rustic path. Just like this. Are you going to be friendly about connecting into this? Absolutely not. Now you will be, though. And you run through like that. Start squaring off some of these corners, or rounding off some of these corners. Good. Good. We can make that work. Theming. Theming. Definite theming here to avoid any frustrations by the guests to be experiencing the negative thoughts associated with support buildings. So that is path and fences done. Let's go ahead and get some buildings in. Staff facilities, no blueprints. Show me a small quarantine. I'm actually going to build this off the path and then I'll move it in place later. Show me small quarantine. Small quarantine has no windows, so I can put a staff building next to it. I can put a vet surgery next to it. And then coming off the back, let's move these around. You go here, you go here. And then coming off the back of this side, we can put our animal trading center. And we could have like a generator here or something like that. So we can now move you into position. Looks like you will play very nice in this spot right here. Very little rotation required. Sure. You will also need keeper facilities. For now, that's just going to be keeper hut small, but we are going to earmark that area as needing to expand in the future. Maybe we just run keeper hut down this back wall. We could even get fancy with like a path down here that extends to like a keeper hut. Maybe. I think we're probably going to want the large keeper hut buildings eventually as soon as we unlock them. So let's just make sure that we'll have the requisite space for that. It means you would go here. And then you would go there, but you'd be too wide. Yeah, that looks like it'll fit just fine. So, we'll put Keeper Hut there. We will demolish you. And then we'll move you over one. And that is going to be our way of saving that space for eventually becoming the expanded kind of Keeper Hut area. And let's put this on an angle just to make sure nothing weird happens if we want to turn that into something later. So that'll be Keeper Hut facilities, and then along, you know, actually along here. Let's actually use this path for something. I want to square that end off. And then we will connect you like that. This can be research. So again, eventually, I think I'd like to have a 4-wide building there. I really like that the windows look out on another part of the zoo. So we're going to put you there as a space saver. And then we're going to go workshop, research center, small. Again, because this is a brand new franchise mode zoo, we are going to need to do all of our researches by ourselves. They will not be unlocked for us. Single staff lounge is a little sketchy. We might want to put a second staff lounge in here. And it's kind of a long walk for these vendors. It's kind of a long walk for those vendors too. We'll see if that becomes a problem. I anticipate that it might be. But it'll also let us use staff theming if there are specific benefits that we want our staff rooms to have. Like interacting with people or getting more energy back. But for now, I think that's a pretty good start. We can hire our initial employees. Staff, please. Give me 1 caretaker, 1 keeper, 1 mechanic, 1 security, 1... no vendor. We'll put shops in later. 1 vet, and 1 roaming educator for now to get us started. That is all of the personnel that we need. And then let's take a look at what animals are available so that we can start grabbing them early. Show me Dromedary Camel. Here we're looking for, I think we were looking for 4 females and a male, so this works out perfectly. Give me this, 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 and this. We're looking for Addax. We do not have the conservation credits for that, but we can at least start the female portion of the herd. We will buy all 5 of these, and we will keep an eye out for a male. We're down to $10,000 already. That may be the only 2 that we can buy to start. I was not exactly looking at finances, because we also still need to get like guest refreshments in and stuff. That's going to cost quite a bit of money. All right, we're going to do a gulpy soda. Which again, I'm going to plan this one out off of the paths and then move it into place later. We're going to go chief beef, space, gulpy soda, space. And I actually want to mark these out with grid pieces on a wall, because I want to make sure I'm saving space to add 2 of these buildings in later. So eventually you're going to look like that. Those poor vendors. We'll get them back later. So we'll have double chief beef, double gulpy soda. We'll put it in the back so the queue lines don't get too annoying. We'll roughly try and center it. I think that's pretty good. What happens to you anyway? You vanish. Did I ever hire you, or are you phantoms? You hired both of them, but you also don't know where they went. Oh, they went back to the entrance of the zoo. Okay, that's perfectly fine. You also will want a restroom. Toilet block. And again, for these, I think you'll want 2. Let's plan for this place being pretty busy. Let's block wall, 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 wall. View over here. You will sit right about there, and that'll be nice. And then over here in the back, we might want to think about putting an information center, but at 4,500 with no animal enrichment items placed yet, I think, and no, more importantly, no donation boxes placed yet. I think we really need to prioritize getting animals into this zoo so that we can start making money. Show me finance. Give me donation box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We will move all of these around later. Do not worry about how they look for now. We will need... Oh, you can't afford recycling bins right now. Sad state of affairs, but that's how it be sometimes. We'll put bins on the outside of the path so that people don't get confused. Try to throw their trash inside of the donation bins like animals. We'll give people a couple benches to sit on so that they don't get fatigued in the Saharan sun. Here, give people a couple picnic tables. Can I random rotate these? No. Well, I would like to random rotate them. So I guess we'll just have to do it by pretend. We'll have a little picnic area here. We'll have a second picnic area over here. I don't think that we even know what an umbrella is yet, but if we have umbrellas, we will definitely want to stick a couple umbrellas on these. What else are you forgetting? You know, I don't think anything. I think you're ready to start putting animals into exhibits, and you're ready to start making a little bit of money. Hop into our animal storage. Take all these dromedary camels. Send them to quarantine to make sure they're healthy. And then while you guys do that, we'll set up our work zones. Let's see. You. All of you for sure. Eventually, all of you. This is going to be animal care. No, this is going to be Sahara animal care. Let's say Arid Sahara, because that's really what this section is. It's like the deserty parts of the Sahara Desert. Excuse me. Arid Sahara animal care. There we go. Okay. And then we are going to take all of our employees who are not vendors, and we are going to assign them to it. We are going to have a second work zone. That is you, and you. This is going to be our entrance plaza guest services. And then these vendors, Richie's son, guess what? You work for Entrance Plaza Guest Services now. Vendor shops, guess what? You work for Entrance Plaza Guest Services. You will need a second handyman. And you'll need a second mechanic. No, I think you'll just need a second caretaker. Caretakers are the ones that actually like clean paths up, right? What are your jobs? If I tell you what jobs you're allowed to do, bins, litter, benches, toilets, guest window, yeah. Second caretaker. Let him pop into existence. Your work zone is Entrance Plaza Guest Services. Great. We also need to teach visitors what the heck they are looking at. So we're going to go real simple. Habitat Education Board. Here, and also let's take a look at where power is, because these will need to be powered. Alright, good, you have plenty of space. These can basically run all the way up to where the donation bins are. Slide you back to here. Slide you back to here. Good. And then these, you actually need to find where the boundary is going to be. Right about here is where you run out of power. Swing this one around here. And that one sit about there. So guests can now learn something. You guys will also need power. I have just barely enough money to do this. So that will power the interior buildings. But that's everything we need for this zoo to run. We can rename a couple groups to make our lives easier. This is going to be entrance, plaza, food, drink. This is going to be entrance, plaza, restrooms. This is going to be Arid Sahara Animal Services. This is going to be Arid Sahara Research. And this is going to be Arid Sahara Animal Feeding. So, with $2,000 left in the bank, let's get some guests in here. Are our camels out of quarantine yet? They are still under quarantine. That is okay. We will wait for them to pass that. Well, we do. That also is going to be theming. That also is going to be theming. You do have a really interesting shortcut opportunity there. And you're going to have like animal talks in that section as well. I think you probably should run just a narrow path in there. And then do you want to do the same thing over here? Yeah, probably. Oh, I hate that. All right, you don't want to do that. That looks horrendous. Could you sneak it off here? Kind of. No, I don't like the way any of this is coming out. We're just going to say that anything over there is a long walk and that shortcut connection is fine. Camels are out of quarantine. Let's go put them in Dromedary Camel. And then as soon as that's done, we will move the Addaxes into quarantine. And we will start making money just in time to avoid complete financial insolvency. Animal trading, animal storage, give me all of my Addaxes, send them to the zoo, put them into quarantine. Can I get so lucky as to find a male Addax with my last bit of money? No. Okay, that one's gonna have to wait a little bit. Our first camel has arrived. She is very sad about enrichment. She is sad about social, that'll get fixed. Sad about nutrition, that'll get fixed. Terrain isn't quite right. Oh yeah, because there's going to be way too much rock, obviously. Alright. Now that we have animals in here, let's actually give them the terrain that they want. Here's a ton of sand for you. Good. Then, you don't mind having soil or rock, you don't mind having short grass. We are going to use some of this terrain to demarcate where things are going to go. Actually, you've been using rough rock for that previously. Rough rock to denote where shelter will be. Actually, I don't like that. Let's have the keeper enter through where the shelter will be and have this be the shelter building. Which may end up just being like some sunshades. I don't think camels are particularly picky. We can have this denote the sort of standoff area. We can have this. We'll have like a wall in the back, maybe like an old kind of fort wall. So it looks kind of like, you know, ruined in the background. That would also be a clever way to mask this path. And then I think it would be also neat to have a little bit of like a rock structure in here. So like a little bit of a rock outcrop here. We can put an enrichment item on that. A little bit of a rock outcrop here. We can put an enrichment item on that. And then maybe just like a jumble of rocks here in the back. With the exit of the... Yeah. With the exit of the stables being like right there. And I think that's roughly the shape that the camel habitat is going to take. Now we are getting yelled at for dropping below minimum on sand. So let's crank this to like 30. And then just lightly brush sand in on top of everything. So that the camels are still happy, but we can still see as exhibit designers where we want this stuff to go. Lovely. Then, enrichment. We need to keep you watered. 300 is so steep for a water pipe right now that I have to go with a small water trough. Give you one of those. And I'll give you a small food trough next to it. And for now, that's gonna have to be enough for you until we make a little bit more money. But this is a functional habitat, which means that it will start pulling guests into the zoo. I'll place all this educational content. And off we go. Adopt and place 2 different exhibit species, 300 guests in the zoo, yearly food totals. We're not super close to that. And I also don't think we're going to be doing exhibit animals anytime soon. But hopefully at this point, guest donations can take over. And we can stabilize a bit. My general plan, and I don't really know how well I'm going to be able to stick to this, would be to spend 1 year doing sketch, which, you know, we've basically completed at this point. And then to spend 1 year doing each exhibit as a way to make budget constraints kind of matter. Because otherwise, you know, I could start a franchise zoo, quote unquote. I'm using like heavy air quotes. Let this area run for like 50 years and then have infinite money anyway. I want to be pressured by budget, but I don't want budget to get in the way of actually like doing things. So I think the most interesting way for me to do that would be to do 1 sketch 1 year. And then we'll do rebuild dromedary habitat year 2, rebuild Addax year 3, rebuild Oryx year 4, rebuild Sandcat year 5, rebuild Fennec year 6, rebuild Backstage year 7, and then rebuild Guest Plazas year 8. And then after that, we move on to next section of the zoo. I think that'll help to kind of keep things broken up a little bit. But here, we still have lots of April left, and if I could have all of the requisite animals in the zoo by the end of year 1, if I can afford that, that would be perfect. That would be exactly where I would like to be at the end of this first episode. So we'll see how close we can get to that. Many guests coming in, hopefully giving many donation. Money is getting a little dire, but I think if we need to, we can take a loan out to pay for some of these things for the Addaxes. Or we could sell the research and, we could sell the research buildings, because we don't explicitly need them right now. That would give us enough money to buy the basic enrichment items that we need for the Addaxes. And then we can just put them in later. I could even just sell one of them, probably. Alright, as soon as you guys are ready to go here... we will be all good. Lovely. Take all of them, move them into Addax. How bad am I going to get nailed on a loan here if I take one? 5k? I could do a 5k loan. Alright, I'm not that concerned about it. Oh, never mind. Our first cash flow came in. We're actually fine. We have 300 whole dollars. Alright, Addax. 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 Ladies and gentlemen of the zoo, we have 2 animals for your viewing pleasure now. Please make sure that you come and look at both of them and pay for your experience accordingly. Habitat, terrain, you need hard shelter. Alright, that's annoying, because I can't really afford it. But we do have most of that marked out already. Take this down to like 6. You want most of this to be sand, so we know that your shelter is going to go right there. Because you're shy, we need to keep you away from the prying eyes of guests. That also means like this, and this fence are all going to be opaque. Not just like we're going to theme them, but if it's an opaque fence, then guests won't try to look through it. So that's your sand. How long can I get away with your hard shelter being non-existent? Actually, for a while, I can. That's great. Alright, you can have a small water trough. You can have a small food trough. And most importantly, we can start researching. Because I need more enrichment items for these nerds. Given that we are building an African zoo, I think it makes sense to start with the Africa theme first. Unlock a couple extra buildable pieces, but maybe as an extra challenge to ourselves, we can do this whole Arid Sahara area in vanilla pieces only, which I think should be okay. There's probably some things that I'm going to wish that I could use, but at the end of the day, I think we'll be able to get away with it. Do not need to know that I'm low on cash, thank you. And then just keep an eye out for that last male Addax. My white whale. Nothing. Alright, well once we get to about 1,000, we can start, well maybe like 3,000. We can start looking for Scimitar-Horned Oryx. And then we can find Sandcat and Fennec Fox at the end of it. And we will be ready to call it a day for year 1. Oh, that's perfect power coverage. That's so good. I wish it was a little further out over here. And in fact, I may move where that generator is to get it over there. I may do that. Split you. Move. I want to advanced move you. Enter group edit mode. No, how do I get you off of your grid? Select group advanced move? There it is. Yeah, select group move. Okay. I want you... Oh god, you really actually do need to be like right there to cover electricity there. Alright, you know, I think I'm gonna have to leave you. We're going to need another generator just to clip that section of the Fennec Foxes. I can't take conservation credits from myself. Son of a... We can mark out some more space for what we want to do with the Addaxes. Let's take a look at your terrain. Your sand is doing fine. Short grass. This is going to be your standoff. This is going to be opaque. So I'm going to cover it with coarse sand as a reminder that I can like theme back there. And I may want to move that gate around to there. This can also be theming. We'll have a little escarpment here out of rock. We'll have one here. And we can have one there, like a little corner. Maybe it would be neat if we could make this a slightly taller rock and give them like something to stand on. But that's the kind of stuff where, you know, we put this in, and we start putting scenery around here, and we put a big rock here. It's all going to cut into their navigable land area. So even though right now we're at 1633 and they only need 505, once we start putting in rocks and decorations, and all the other stuff that we want to be in that habitat, that space is going to start rapidly disappearing. But I think this is plenty of space for us to do something really interesting with this exhibit overall. So I'm excited about it. I would also like to hire one more mechanic if I could afford such a thing, but I want to let my finances shake out a little bit to see how they're going. We are negative 3,400 in profit right now, but this number is sort of stabilizing. And our ongoing expenses for staff wages are going to be the biggest concern that I have. But donations are really not that bad. Considering that dromedaries and addaxes are not like the most interesting animals in the world from a guest perspective, I can't be too mad about the fact that they're both raking in donations a little bit. Up to 726. Let's keep an eye on... So sandcats, we're only ever going to need 2. Let's see how cheap a sandcat is. 377, 389. I can just barely afford that, but I can't afford any of their enrichment. But I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger on it anyway. That is way far back in the zoo. No, I'm going to wait for... I'm going to do Scimitar-Horned Oryxes first. The only thing that's annoying about them is I wanted like 10. Show me Scimitar-Horned Oryx. Only conservation credits. Do I want to burn all of my conservation credits on those? 70, 100, 140, 190, a little over 200. $90, 163, 194. I can do that. Son of it. Math is not my strong suit. But I think that's still sufficient to get them started. We are in September of year 1. I do think I'm going to play with night on. I know that most people who make Planet Zoo videos turn night off, but I think it's going to make an interesting viewing experience, and also it's going to make us actually consider putting light into the zoo, which is cool. I want it to look interesting at night, because I think the idea of a night zoo in the Sahara is actually like really cool. So it's going to be a consideration that we make for when we do the scenery. We're up to 1897 now, making decent money. Probably at the point where I could think about hiring that second mechanic just to keep fences repaired. I think views aren't great. I'm going to have to work on that a little bit. Like getting them behind a shelter will be good. Here they think it's fine. The reports are that... Why is your welfare so bad? What are your social welfare issues? Oh, they're trying to hide. Yeah, we're going to have to make that consideration now. Alright, I'm going to build the world's roughest shelter. Let's just get this in for you so that you have a place that is safe from the prying eyes of guests. I actually have no idea if this is going to work or not, because it may not give them the privacy that they want. But I guess we'll find out. So a little bit of this. Give you a little bit of this. Now we'll make it taller. And then we'll have it be a little shorter in the front. Hey, hopefully this works, otherwise my Addaxes are going to be sad. Nobody wants to see a sad Addax. And then along this back wall, I'm going to leave a really rough marker for where I want the viewing windows to be into this eventual barn slash stable. That seems so much bigger than it needs to be. Can I bring this all down one? Split from group. Advanced move. That seems better. Right. Does this give you the privacy that you so crave? They're thinking about it. They're curious. Vet research is done for Camel. No, for Addax. Yeah, that's fine. We'll run Addax first, then we'll run Camel after that. Alright. They are improving. They are happy to have a shelter. And really, you can just put the world's most plain roof on this thing, too. Even though it's a temporary structure, we can take some steps to make it look not ugly. I'll give it a bit of a dynamic roof here. Show me roofs and floors. Flat? No, 1 meter, please. Yeah. And what if we make this just a little taller? Like, really just break up the visual interest of this building a little bit. And then here at the back, we'll just have that be flat. It is going to bother me that that's basically unsupported, so can I get some non-grid piece concrete, please? Yeah, like, you'll probably do fine. Angle snap. And then we just want to slide in here so it doesn't look like this wall's floating. Angle snap. There we go. You come to about here. Tilt you up. There you go. Duplicate this. Slide it over here. No, wait, you're not just going to be able to slide it. Do these separately. You go here. You go here. And then we're going to have one up here as well. One back here. And then this kind of slides down a little bit to live on top of this concrete pillar. Whoops. Back here. So, Is it pretty? Not really. But given that we're not going to rebuild the Addax habitat for like another year or two, it will at least be something that I can bear to look at. And more importantly, it's something that'll give them a little bit of cover. It's got like nice ventilation in the back, because I'd imagine this building would get very hot in the desert, but eventually we're going to replace it with something that's not concrete at all. It's going to be much more lightly built. And maybe I want it to look like a little crumbling or eroding or something like that. I think it would be cool to take the kind of like, this is the North Africa sort of section of the zoo, and I think it would be neat to give it like a little bit of a Moroccan or like a Bedouin theme or something like that. Going into November, our Addaxes are ready, and I can afford their care. Check where your power is. You are going to need to extend all of your support facilities down here. So that's going to mean donation, 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 donation. You want an info board over here for anybody who manages to make this trip. This is about Addaxes. And as soon as they get dropped off in here, we can expand the placement of the boards. You're also going to need more bins down here. I'll just hope that people are polite in how they choose to throw things out. This back wall is going to be theming. So you can have some benches that sit at the back like that. And then we'll have a couple that come like here. Oh, there's kind of like there's an upswing in the path. That's kind of fun. I thought that it was all flat back there. What a pleasant surprise. Give me habitat education boards. 1, 2, 3. And if you manage to make it this far, 4. These are about Scimitar-Horned Oryxes. Done and done. Let's get you guys taken care of. You also want hard shelter. I don't think I'm going to be able to afford hard shelter for you at this current period in time. Hopefully that does not make you mad or whatever. All this is going to be standoff area. Interior is all going to be sand. Your stables are going to be back there. I think this, given that it's at a corner in the path, is a really cool place to have like a big rock outcropping. And then we can have a small one here. Maybe just a little one there as well. And then what sort of enrichment do you need? Give me water trough. Give me food trough. Back down to 300 bucks. But one more animal in the zoo. And one that should be reachable for guests. Slide that one down a little bit for people who decide to wander down this way. And then we really need a second mechanic. These fences are falling apart. Mechanic number 2. Your work zone is also going to be Arid Sahara animal care. Get to work. Especially because the current researcher is actually just researching and doesn't really do anything. I need somebody else around who is going to be able to handle some upkeep of the zoo. And then at 900, Sand Cat. 389, 372. They're all. I need a female who isn't conservation credits, so I can't do that now. How about Fennec Fox? All males. Ugh. Alright. Well, we might need to wait on putting Fennec Foxes in here in year 2. Yes, the ticket prices are underpriced. I'd love to charge you more to come into the park. Are you kidding me? How about like 6 and 4? How's that strike you? So, as dawn breaks on December year 5, unless we have a change in animal availability very soon, I think that's probably where we're going to have to be done. Just looking at this space, could I get like a small bathroom in here? Something very small, but it just seems like a lot of unused space. Put the path in for it. You might remember it. Yeah, something like that. Dromedary's about to mate. Part shelter's up for Addaxes. Everybody's chilling. Animal welfare is looking pretty good overall. And our research is progressing, which is going to allow us to keep our animals happier. So as we move into year 2, in the next episode, we are going to work on A, getting our sandcats together, and B, getting our Fennec Foxes together. But we are going to rebuild this dromedary camel habitat to make it look like something that would actually be in a zoo instead of like the world's saddest wildlife park. If that is something that you are interested in seeing, make sure that you like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you know when these episodes come out in the future. If you have suggestions for the way that we're theming any of these exhibits or something that you're excited in seeing next, make sure you leave a comment. And otherwise, I will see you around in the next one. Release schedule on these, it takes a while to build stuff in Planet Zoo, and I may break some of these episodes into like parts on my end where like I pause a recording and pick it up later, or do a recording, start it again, and then edit it together in DaVinci. But I think I can probably do one of these about a week or so. So it's going to be a little bit of a longer series, but I hope you stick around for it because I've been wanting to do something a little creative on the channel for a very long time. And I think it will be fun to see how this space sort of evolves as we have a bit more money in order to fund some of that stuff. So until then, I will see you around. Take care, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.